Hey folks, I'm Stardeus, the developer of the deep sci-fi colony sim called Stardeus. For the last several months, I've been working really hard on this major update that I'm about to show you. The codename of it is Complex Planets, but it actually adds much more than that. The changelog is over 300 lines long. I also had a technical iteration focused on performance and did a complete rewrite of a few key systems with staggering gains. Pathfinding and area detection algorithms are now literally 1000 times faster. And now, let's dive into the details of the second major update. If you'll have any questions or suggestions, leave a comment, I will read them all and will do my best to respond. Let's begin. If you had lots of ongoing expeditions, you'll notice that all your shuttles are going to be returning out of the sudden. This is because the planets are no longer mined as they were used to be. And before they return, there's one thing I would recommend. You should find all the shuttle locations, and there will be a warning that those must be outdoors. As soon as possible, as soon as you get those shuttles, start returning, go and remove some walls here. Or just remove a floor. Removing one floor tile would be sufficient, and you'll see what happens when that is not the case. Yeah, that's what happens. You have to make sure that the shuttles are not enclosed, or you will have some bad time when they return from the former expeditions. Quantum barriers must be outdoors. It says not ready, and if we try to enable it doesn't work. We will just remove the wall tile right here to expose this to open space. And now we can actually enable the force field. If you used to have nuclear reactors, you will notice that they have a different fuel type, and your uranium that was inside the reactor will be automatically changed into the new fuel type. It is enriched uranium, and it's crafted in a centrifuge. So you will need to go to research and find the centrifuge, which will be in the nuclear energy. When you unlock the nuclear reactor, you already unlock the centrifuge and the enriched uranium. Now, all that is left to do is to build this centrifuge and start spinning, start enriching uranium. Mad Delta is busy. Ooh. Hello there. Now, when we have the centrifuge built, we can configure it and we can create enriched uranium. So we just click refine and it will use the regular uranium. And you can see this hold control for more info. These pop-ups used to be everywhere, and now we have to actually hold control to see the full contents of the pop-up. And as soon as we have some production here, the uranium will get refined. Yeah, there we go. And we'll have some enriched uranium for this. Now, it's not the only thing with the enriched uranium. There is also the fabricator recipe that could build us a nuclear cell, and these are going to be quite expensive to produce. Now, check this out. You can select uranium, and it's gonna have a pretty high output. If you're crazy enough, you can burn raw uranium in matter reactors. It will, however, be way less efficient than burning the enriched uranium in the nuclear reactor. Now, talking about nuclear cells and all those other things, so we're getting close to the main objective of our major update, a completely new system for mining planets, and not just mining planets. Previously, you would just launch an expedition to a planet. So let's enter the planet. This is our star map. This is the whole planet view. If we close this, we can see that the planet is here in the background. Yeah, so if we want to fly somewhere here, the distances are much shorter. Often we can just launch an expedition from like quite a distant area. So let's just launch one expedition and see how it goes. Oh, we have 2 more life forms. There's, ooh, we just found an egg. See, the egg was detected. And there it goes. So now if we go to star map, we see that it's already there. If we click this and see the lithium deposit, you can see that it's being mined with 48 per day. And then there's this temporary storage. You'll see later why it's useful. The mining difficulty shows how the resource is utilized, and the higher mining difficulty, the slower the mining will go. You might think, okay, that's all cool, but where is the mining automation? Because this is still manual mining. But before we get to the automation, which is the most exciting part, let me show you other things. We're now traveling to another planet. We can see this unknown point of interest. If we launch an expedition, let's see what happens. They're looking for something in the crash site there, and then we get this action required. So expedition found an object, it's a storage capsule, there's 13% chance of failure during recovery. We're gonna try that, and oh no, the artifact was destroyed. Landon Beck took 152 damage, and Landon unfortunately died. There is some risk involved in this. And the shuttle returns. Here's our dead body, and Landon is being carried to the meat factory. That's how it ends for Landon. But let's see, what else do we have here? I'm willing to try one more expedition. Maybe this one will be more lucky. There we go, another expedition out. This time they found an unidentified object. I think they did recover it, and they're returning. And the unidentified object in this case was an egg. Yes, there we go. They brought back an egg. They didn't know. Obviously, they didn't know what that egg contains. Now we should have enough push to visit the signal. Travel here. And it will fly pretty quick. Yeah, so we can see there's this moon here. We're approaching it, and the signal is exactly where this moon is. Lully, it's called. And there we go, we arrived, open star map, and now we'll respond to the signal. And it says they really want log, and they will pay 22,000. Let's try to accept. We did have that, and we have fulfilled their request, so we received 22k. Let's move over to the silicon deposit, and let me show you the biggest change with mining. So we're going to wait for the star map to rotate. It's pretty cool. So now you want to maybe... Ooh. Oh no, the cats. The cats are going to... Oh no. Poor kitties. I cannot watch that. Let's have a minute of the silence for the kitties. Now we have the silicon deposit, and let's say we want the silicon, but the difficulty is pretty high, so it's going to be slow to mine manually, and we want this to be automated. So luckily now we can go to research, and there's mining automation. Now let's wait for the research. Definitely not cheating to finish it quickly. Once we have unlocked mining automation, we can now build auto drill rig, and we can build cargo copter. Both auto drill rig and the copter are necessary to automate the mining operations. So I'm going to build auto drill rig. I could build a few, and let's build cargo copters. We're going to have 3 cargo copters and 3 auto drill rigs. The cargo copter will be used to deploy this rig onto the planet. There are a couple of ways to do this. You can click on the drill rig and hit deploy, and then you can choose where. Deploy resource miner, and now we can see that the copter picked this up, and the copter is now carrying the auto drill rig to the planet. The silicon deposit now has this auto drill rig, and you can see that it's mining 9 a day. It's not as fast as with manual expedition, but it does not deteriorate the mining difficulty as much as manual expedition does. Now this temporary storage makes sense. It will accumulate 250 silicon, and then you'll have to collect it using the copter mission. If you press collect, it will assign one of the copters, and there's this copter mission overlay. We can see there's available copters 2, ongoing missions 1, and this is our ongoing mission, target silicon deposit collect. So the copter is now flying there to collect the contents of the deposit. And if we look at this while it's open, we'll see that silicon will become 0. And now the copter is returning to ship. Yeah, there we go. This is the copter. It's arriving back. So since these copters require nuclear cells, they don't require any refueling. And there's our silicon, which was mined without any permanent expedition. So if we go to lithium deposit, while there's an expedition here, we could still deploy a resource miner. And you can see here the copter mission is running. We don't even have to interfere. So the miner was automatically chosen and the copter is now leaving with the miner. And we can actually just fly away and the copter will just wait here. Let's say you lost the copter. You can go to copter missions. But this is not showing the location since we are near the copter. But if we go to star map and while the copter is flying here, if we would exit the planet and we would maybe travel somewhere else, we would remember that, you know what, we had a copter here and we could click copter missions. And now if you hover this, it shows the target, which is a Megaira Galaxy Hexblade system Otkin lithium deposit. And the copters are very cool because they do find a space to land. They will try to land where they went from. If we would build a wall here right now, the copter will not be able to land here, right? But when it returns, it's going to be smart enough. It's not going to be like shuttles that required certain areas. Yeah, I just picked a random spot where there was landing space and that's our copter now. Now you all know what crawlers are. By now you should. And we do want to get rid of them, let's say. We do want to know who is infected and when the egg shows up and all things like this. So there is now a way to deal with it. If we go to research and we search for xenodetection, there's this new research branch will allow us to build this xenodetector. So let's do that. And you can see this xenodetector has a range. This is the range of effect. So if you have a big ship like this one, you'll probably want to have more than one and they should have overlapping ranges. And once they're built, we'll see how and if they would trigger some warnings. So check this out. 44 minutes ago, there was a life form detected right here, which means that one of these people in this square radius is actually infected with crawlers. Every hour we will update the scan and you'll be able to do some detective work to find who is carrying. Oh, see, the scan has updated. Now someone here has an alien life form. And I know that this might be tedious, so later I will add upgrades which would reduce the radius of this detection. But wait, there's more. If we go to research, we're going to find the paint system. Unlocks the paint overlay, and it also unlocks auto painter, which dispenses nanobots carrying pigment particles that can change the color of most surfaces. Let's add that to queue. After we have researched paint, we will be able to open the paint overlay right here. We will have to actually physically produce pigments. So we will start by building the auto painter. Yeah, let's build it here. And we're lacking some materials. We're lacking the red pigment. Now to produce the red pigment, let's go to materials, find the red pigment and hold control or just click. So we need poppy petals and water and we need to craft that in Fabricator. And we're now producing the red pigment. We just built and connected the auto painter. So now if we go into the paint overlay, we can see these red, green and blue. And if we pick a color, it will show us how many tiles we can paint. So if you pick something that is bright and highly saturated, it will use more pigment. And now, check this out. I'm holding Shift and I just painted the floors in this circle. I can hold Shift again and paint another ring. Oh, and it said boop boop because we have not enough paint. We could just maybe go into auto painter here and auto refill amount. Let's actually make it so whenever at least a little bit of paint is used, it will be refilled. You can scale the operations by building multiple painters. There we are. Now we have 3 of them. If we go back to paint overlay, we can now see that these are loaded. Let's do another ring. Let's make the ring blue. How about that? It doesn't really have to be a ring, of course. You can just click tile by tile. You can also choose a different color, draw like this. And it doesn't have to be floors. Now I have selected paint floors, so you could select paint walls. And you can do that. And of course, if you select paint walls and do this, it will only paint walls. It will leave the floors as they are. So you can use this to customize the look of your ship to your liking. And then also there's the eraser, so you could erase the floor like that. It doesn't consume any paint. And we will select one of the colors here. So I want this to be very saturated and very bright. Save this color. Now we're going to make this very bright and saturated. And this is a nice addition to the light colors that we have, because we can also achieve the similar effect by changing light hues and mixing them and changing the range of the lights. Of course, lights are mixing with the floor paint, so you can create really interesting looking combinations. Mix two colors, for example, yellow and blue is green. If you hold Control Shift, you can paint the whole room, like so. There is another research called Sign, and it also has another research called Labeling. Let's unlock them both. When signs are unlocked, we can go and build a sign. Oh, the asteroid just flew by. Hello there, Mr. Asteroid. There we go, we have the sign. And if you would open the rooms overlay with F9, you'd see that there's this sign text in the room 14 where the sign is. And we can rename it. So we can say this is our yellow zone. And we can also make the sign bigger. You can change the width so it will be formatted as you want. You can change the offset so maybe the sign will show things on the floor instead of itself. Now if you go back to the room overlay, it says yellow zone. So the cool thing here is that usually when you have these rooms, these numbers are automatic and they can change if you change the wall layout and so on. But now if we just broke this wall here, our yellow zone will simply become bigger, but it will still be a yellow zone in this room. It will still be same room. I like to call this obey, so the people around us would know what they're supposed to do. And when we unlock the other research, the labeling, you don't have to build the sign. You can take any device, rename this to medical room. This device will now carry the label, and this is now your medical room. If you go to room overlay, you can quickly find the medical room. You could also have more signs than one in one room. We can only see the medical room here, but the list will show medical room and heater room. Only the first label will be visible in the room list here. But if we would split this with a wall, we're going to get medical room and heater room separated. So once we're in the system layer, now we can select a new scan target, which is a faction. So if you select a faction, it will just find the planet that has a faction here. You may also notice that stasis pods are no longer landing anywhere. They only land in the areas that are roofed. If you go to rooms overlay, there's this area exposed to space, and then there's this display outer hull. If we click that, we can see where things can actually land. And also when we have this hull displayed, we can look into these rooms, and it will also have this list of items that are in the room. And it will also hide the color of the active room. So you can see that this room has connector, floor socket, heater, jukebox, and so on. Another change is UI related. If you select something, you may notice that these UI items are now grouped. The texts are short enough for these items to fit side by side. The game automatically detects that and groups the adjacent items together. And if you don't like it, you can go to video settings, scroll all the way to the bottom, and there's this auto compact UI. If you turn this off and restart the game, it will no longer do this grouping. Now merchants. There's a big balancing change with merchants. They are going to be a little less rich. And if you start a trade, you'll see that the merchant has 43k. And if you want to add some materials, the numbers here will be slightly lower, although this is a quite advanced save, so it's 41 hours in. If you would be playing an early game, the numbers would be much lower. Also, if you enjoy Stardeus and haven't reviewed it on Steam yet, please consider leaving your review. This really helps. Every morning I open Steam and I'm always very happy to find any new reviews. I always read them all. This motivates me greatly. Oh, and I've started making more YouTube videos about Stardeus and game development in general, so if it's something you're interested in, subscribe to the channel. You can select the floor socket, then hold Shift and just click on these items one by one. That's faster than dragging a line from item to item. But then also we have another option. If we select a bunch of tiles and we hold Shift and click on the connector, we get the connection going. And we can repeat that with this bunch. We can repeat that with this bunch. Of course, the range has to be within, but it's faster than doing a drag. And it also works with disconnecting. So if you select a bunch of items, hold shift click, those are disconnected, shift click, those are connected. Now there's another tip with trading. If you would hold control and click select, you would add every single item here. If you hold shift and click select, you will add half. And if you hold alt and click select, you would add 1. That's it for now. See you in the next update.